So good afternoon, all 100 children with a join. We right here for zooming in on sustainability. This year, the Queen quit head on the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation and thing like that. And we so glad that 100 a part of this year for we Gullah Geechee 2020 celebration. Oh, 20 years of the Gullah Geechee Nation and thing like that. Oh, praise God for this year. So, before we get going for this year's show this evening, we want to give a moment of silence. And why call we virtual libation with the Pope for we ancestors, for David Walker, who be right, David Walker Peel, and for Cato, and for Jemmy, and for Gullah Jack, and for Denmark Vesey. We want to pay homage to all of them who will lead this your fight for freedom, self-determination. Wherefore we get you. And praise God, we still got that spirit in we today. So let we take a moment of silence. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. Well, honey children, I so glad for had this your guest on zooming in today. I know what to do. I know if I should get up and shout. I know if I should drag the drum over and start for playing. But then I figure if I start to play that drum and think all kind of fools, especially David Walker, the kind for join me for truth today, because it have to be glad for no sake. Somebody finally done bun the pages of history into the mind, into the heart, into the spirit of we children. Why I say this, y'all? Well, a lot of you out there have probably seen this man's face before, because for the last couple of years, he's been touring, he's been traveling with a power-filled documentary called Wilmington on Fire. Now, interestingly enough, our filmmaker today is actually not from Wilmington, but he is from North Kakalaki, leave it inland. But how could you live in North Carolina and not know about 1898? How could you live in the Gullah Geechee Nation's coast and not know about 1898? How could you be a person of African descent and not know of 1898? Very easily, because the same way they burned down the businesses, they killed the people, they dragged pastors out into the street, they whipped people down in the marsh all around Wilmington, North Carolina. The intention was to try to eliminate the memory of freedom, eliminate the memory of economic empowerment, eliminate the memory of Black leadership. Fortunately, there have been many people like Lenny Renee Thomas and others over the years who are from Wilmington who didn't forget, who remembered, and who were not afraid to talk about what they remembered. But if you play telephone in school, they let you know. And if you go to court at any time, they let you know living witnesses testimony always fails. It changes over time. That's why they prefer written documents. Well, that's why we have something else called a documentary. How do we document our story, though, and tell it ourselves? Tell those things that we remember, whether they're painful or they're pleasant, so that the record is there, etched in time, burned into our hearts, burned into our minds, so that the future generations will know who they be down young. So I knew of 1898 because as an adult, I learned about what happened in Wilmington, North Carolina, when I started trying to relocate where were the Gullah Geechees in coastal North Carolina. Then in whispers, people would say, people don't want to come to your meetings because you talk about self-determination. People don't want to come to the meeting, unless the government said they could come to the meeting, and then they're a little scared and I couldn't get it. But then I figured it out. The connection was still there. That memory was still there of the terrorism, the abuse, the heartache that went on, that caused the disenfranchisement of many families in Wilmington, North Carolina. The story was so much to tell that it's a long documentary, but it still wasn't enough. Guess what, children? Part 2 is coming to you by filmmaker Christopher Everett, the maker of Wilmington on Fire. He's still got a heart burning our history into the pages and onto the screen. Brother Chris, peace and blessings. How honored to do?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going well. It's so good to see you again, man.
Yeah, same here, same here. I really appreciate you having me on your program today.
Oh, I had to do this because first of all, I got to congratulate you. You just won some money to get the part 2 done. Is that right? Or that thing been crooked? Because you know you get it on the internet and that thing ain't have to be true. That thing true?
Yeah, we got a small grant,
That's all right.
Yeah,
Bravo.
we got a small grant from the Southern Documentary Fund for Wilmington on
Outstanding.
Fire, Chapter 2, yes.
Excellent, excellent. So now chapter 2. But what happened with chapter 1? Because like I said, you're not even from Wilmington, right?
Right.
So what made you even start to scribe chapter 1 into a screenplay, into something that could become a documentary? Why do it? What's that about?
Well, I've always had an interest, in our history, especially North Carolina history, just
Mhm.
being from Laurinburg, North Carolina.
Yeah.
If you are familiar with Laurinburg, we have our own history there, with the Laurinburg Institute. It's a historical Black boarding and day school. My grandfather went to school there. His brothers and sisters went to school there. It was co-founded by Booker T. Washington and
Wow.
other folks in 1904. That's when it was happening. I grew up like right around the corner from the place. So
Is it still in
yeah,
operation or what is it now?
no, it's not in operation now, but the buildings are still there. I think they're trying to do some things to get it, back up again.
Okay.
But I've been around that type of history my whole life. My godfather, he was like the alumni president for years. And
Outstanding.
so I remember as a kid, Dizzy Gillespie, he went to school there. And
Oh, yeah.
and I remember as a kid, meeting, him.
Really?
Yeah,
So
because
I
like I
saw
said,
him play, and I mean, you never forget him after you get to meet him.
yeah,
Yeah.
because like I said, my
Oh, yeah.
godfather was the alumni president, so all the alumni, would come to him whenever they would come into town. They would do events and fundraisers. So I was always around that type of history, my whole life. So I've always been fascinated with it. And so as I got older and wanted to start making my own films, I wanted to do something that was about North Carolina history, but it was untold and
Yeah.
really it wasn't mainstream because those are the films I wanted to make. I wanted to make films that weren't mainstream about our history, but make them mainstream,
That's a great
give them
thing.
a platform. And so,
Yeah.
that led me to do the 1898 Massacre
Mm.
documentary, Wilmington on Fire. And it
Yeah.
was a long, hard road. It took about 3.5 years to film everything. And
Wow.
then another year to, get the last minute funds and post-production.
Yeah.
But ever since it premiered in November 2015 in Wilmington, it's been on ever since. We screened all over the country, several parts of the world, throughout the world. We've been featured in the New Yorker,
Yeah.
New York Times,
Yeah.
NPR, and recently, we've been featured in some, a lot of celebrities have been talking about the film as well, especially during the climate we're in right now. So the
Absolutely.
film is still, still has life 4 years later. And I just can't believe it.
Yeah, I can't believe it either because it seemed like it wasn't that long ago that we were sitting on stage in Wilmington together,
Right.
when you were screening it at UNC. And
Right.
that was really a powerful opportunity to discuss our story.
Right.
So to have it come literally from the page to the screen and then come by the voices of the people has been what I loved about what you did in terms of promoting this. And so 5 years later, here you are with the next part that you told me back then you were going to do.
Right.
And so I wondered about that. When we're talking about zooming in on sustainability, how do we sustain communities? You made a remark. You said, especially in this climate.
Right.
So in these times, what is it that people should be doing other than tweeting about stuff and Instagramming about stuff as Black people? What would you say to them in terms of the importance of reading and the importance of also documenting the times that we're in now?
Right. Oh, it's very important, and we all can do a little something. You don't have to make a film like I did, but, we all can do small things like, support more Black businesses. That's one. I'm saying patronize, businesses, from our people. I think that's one key thing we should do. And also organizations as well. We should donate to them, as much as we can. I think that's one thing. And also organize and it ain't got to be nothing on a big scale. It can just be you organizing, in your neighborhood and on your block, getting your neighbors together and, talking to them, say, hey, let's try to do something for the kids in this block right here. So they don't have to be out here, running the streets and doing whatever. Let's start like a study group to help them. Because, a lot of kids are at home now. They've been at home since COVID has happened, you know, and a lot of kids aren't getting, you know, proper education because either
Right.
parents still have to work, you
Yeah.
know, so it's like, you know, you can just start small things, you know, just do something small, you know,
Right.
like that, just organize within your home, your block, your community, you know, to
Mhm.
get some things done. And
Right.
those small things add up over
They
time.
do. They do. And so what was that small thing that might have happened with you that even, I know you have a campaign launch on something called Seed and Spark,
Right.
but what planted the seed in you and what sparked and ignited in you reading? And because you had to do a lot of reading, I know, to
Right.
even find, and a lot of research to find the material to talk about the 1898 massacre. I mean, was that easy? Was it difficult? Because I mean, I know, like I said, people would only whisper to me about it. And they didn't really want to talk too much. They might point a finger and say, if you go to that building over there, so and so is a descendant. Or
Right.
if you go over there, y'all might find something in the archive. But did you find it an easy process or a difficult one? And what sparked in you to say, yeah, no matter what, if it's hard or easy, I'm going to keep on going?
Oh yeah, I knew it was going to be a hard road. You know, I knew it was going to be a long road too, because you know, just doing the research at first, I not only researched the history, but I also researched to see if anyone had did what I'm trying to do. You know,
Okay.
meaning make a film, you know, of this magnitude, like a documentary, and I saw that no one actually did it. But I
Right.
also saw that people have attempted over the years, and
Mhm.
even some Hollywood people. I'm like, man, you know, so
Wow.
they
And they didn't finish. And you
yeah,
did.
so they
Wow.
just never got it going, or they didn't get the funding. So I said, man, if these Hollywood people couldn't do it, I don't know. But I said, you know what?
But you pressed
Yeah,
on.
yeah. I
Yeah.
said, you know what? But you know, I think I have a better advantage
Mhm.
because you know my budget is going to be much smaller. You
Mhm.
know, and then also I got crew that's committed. We all wanted to be a part of the story and tell it like it should have been told, and we all were willing to work for a low budget to get it done. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I had that on my side, and also, you know, I wasn't tied into no, you know, no company or institution where I could just go and get the people I wanted in there and tell it how it's supposed to be told. And so, you know, I reached out to folks like Larry Thomas and, you know, Kent
Mhm.
Chatfield and Dr. Umar, yourself, descendants of the 1898 massacre. And, you know, I wanted to put together like a super group, similar to what Tariq Nasheed did with Hidden Colors, where he
Okay.
had all these minds put together in one film. You know, and
Mhm.
that's the kind of the model that I wanted, you know what I'm saying, of
Right.
having all these minds. And filming all you guys was like going to college for free. You know,
I hear that.
it was great, like hearing yourself, Professor Darity, Larry, and all these people. Even me and my camera guy still talks about it to this day. Like,
Yeah.
man, we wish we had teachers in school like all you guys. You know
Wow.
what I'm saying? Because I like that's what's missing. Because just sitting down with you guys for hours, you know, really educated me a lot, and it was interesting. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And so I learned something even while I'm filming and
While you're
interviewing.
filming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you know, I'm learning something, and also even the crew was learning at the same time.
Right.
So you know, it was a great experience. You
And
know,
I've
overall.
actually seen your cameraman since then on another project, and he
He's doing.
was,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
He's doing big. Dante doing his thing. He's he's in
doing his
Hollywood
thing.
now. He's
Yeah, Dante is on another project that I was on right before the COVID broke out. So
right.
that's something y'all will hear about later. That's something coming later, y'all.
Oh, I can't wait.
It was
Yeah,
a blessing because Dante had told the other brother, you know, don't tell me who it is, just say that there's somebody you know here. And when
yeah,
I showed up, it was him. I was like, oh my God, you grew up on me, you
yeah.
know? And that's what he said to me. It had been really like 10 years ago
It was
when
a
you and
while ago. I think 2012.
I,
2012. I think we filmed it.
2012,
Yeah,
yeah.
a while
So I
ago.
mean, we're getting close, yeah, to
Yeah,
that 10-year mark of actually the day that you met me.
right,
You know, face to face, that
right.
is, where y'all both showed up face to face because you and I had been communicating
Yeah,
as I saw you posting stuff. And you know, when you say that about, you know, as an answer to what sparked it and what planted that seed, you had to have something to keep going. And I know over the years, you and I have talked and talked about some of the struggles even after the film came out,
right,
you know,
right,
some of the controversy after the
right,
film came out, as
right,
well as celebrating your successes, many of which you listed earlier.
right.
And so I know that the successes and the good of all of those minds that you said being shared on screen. I've gotten emails and I've gotten people watching Gullah Geechee TV when I interviewed you there to say, oh my God, I love him. I love Wilmington on Fire. And, you know, when all of these protests broke out, you know, recently,
Right.
you know, we also sent out a list of films that people should watch. And
I appreciate that.
Fire, had to be there because we need people to have an understanding of the past in order to know what they're dealing with in the present.
Right.
And so when I say that, I know you said part of those minds were people who were descendants of those who were massacred or those who were run out of town. So the main person who sparked this off was Alex Manley. Would you tell my audience who is Alex Manley and why was there a massacre in Wilmington just because of what Alex Manley did, and what was it he did?
Right. Well, you know, Alex Manley, you know, was an African-American man. He was of mixed descent because, you know, he could really pass for a white guy, but he always would say that he's black and black first. But, you know, he was a business owner in Wilmington, owned and operated the Wilmington Daily Record, and it was considered one of the only black daily newspapers in the country back then during that time. And it was successful. They had white and black advertisers, and the company was doing well. And, you know, he was, you know, top of the class, you know, in Wilmington. But the thing is, you know, since he was outspoken, he also was very outspoken into, you know, the politics that was going on during the time, whether it was racial issues as well. And so he did a commentary for his paper about Rebecca Felton, who, you know, she was like the first female U.S. senator back then. And she had made a speech, I think a year prior, called Women on the Farm. And it was really about white men needing to protect white womanhood and to protect white women from these black men out here since the end of slavery. And they're running wild. And they need to get a control of them and lynch them if they need to. And so, you know, Alex Manley.
So to get control, kill them.
Right.
That's
pretty
crazy.
much. You know, and so Alex Manley, you know, he read the article and really wanted to make commentary because his whole thing, he was a product of his mom being raped by the slave master. So, you know, I think that really incensed him. And so he wrote an article pretty much saying that, you know, we're not raping white women. It's y'all are coming at us. It's when y'all get busted. That's when y'all want to say
rape, but it wasn't a rape. Right.
And he also threw in another thing in there saying that, you know, you guys especially love mulatto men like myself as well.
Ooh, wow.
And so he was like, also to tell your man to leave our women alone.
Okay.
And so the white supremacists,
made it plain.
Exactly. So when the white supremacists saw this article, they said, okay, because see, they wanted to do the massacre anyway, regardless. They just needed something. They just needed one thing. Yeah, they needed something.
Rosewood. It's like with Rosewood. What he doing with a piano?
Right.
Well, I ain't got no piano. Well, can you play piano? I can't play piano, but that end shouldn't have no piano because I don't have a piano. And now you burn the whole town down and kill the families. So now in this case, y'all wanted to do it. Right. So it was that last straw thing, and you just figured that was going to
because they needed something to stick really for their propaganda machine, and so they used that article and spread it all over North Carolina, not only through women but through North Carolina, period.
The whole state.
Yeah, the whole state, and then also it made its way down to y'all area in South Carolina. Where you had Ben Tillman.
Oh God!
Because he caught wind of that article and he made statements about it. He said, "Hey, if that N-word Alex Manley was in South Carolina, we would have hung him a long time ago."
Wow.
He's quoted with that in like several articles and stuff. So, you know, so they were spreading it out all through not only North Carolina, but South Carolina and other places to show, I guess, this so-called Negro problem. That's what they called it.
Right. That's what they all call it, the Negro problem. Right.
So that spread out and, you know, the propaganda machine just kept going. And also Alex Manley started to get death threats. He had to actually move his newspaper building to the current building where it got burnt at. It used to be closer to downtown, but they had to move a little inward. You know what I'm saying, to the spot where it got burned down because they were threatening to blow it up and burn it down at the original location.
Like it was in Oklahoma.
Exactly.
So like Tulsa, Oklahoma, they were going to bomb it, or like they later did with food buildings in Philly, bomb the place. But so then instead when it got moved, they burned it instead of bombing.
Right, right. So, so that happened. And then November 10th happened, when they actually did the massacre. And
Mhm.
his spot was the first to go. They actually, he was on the hit list, but he got word early to, man, get out of town. So he left Wilmington a couple of days before the massacre
Okay.
happened. But it was easy for him to get out because him and his brother could pass for white men.
That's a
So
white.
they
Yeah.
put the word out to look for him. They say, capture, the N-word Alex Manley. And
Mm.
so they thinking that it's a person of
A
our
dark skin,
complexion.
yeah, like
You
our
know what I'm saying?
complexion.
Yeah. So it's a story of, he actually, I know Dr. Lewin Manley shares a story that was passed down to him where him and his brother, they were going through leaving Wilmington. They knew the passcode and everything. And so
Okay.
these group of white men stopped them and
Mhm.
said, have y'all seen this boy Manley? And then he
Mm.
was like, nah, we don't know.
Oh, who you talking about? Right.
But if we see him, we'll let you know. So they actually gave him a gun and said, if you see him, shoot him dead.
Are you serious?
you
They
know,
gave
yeah,
the person they trying to kill,
right,
they gave the gun to and said, if you see him, shoot him dead.
yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And so they got
Your sound just went out, Chris.
out of there, and he resettled. You know what I'm saying? It didn't work out in
Okay,
New York.
so let me
His
say this
brother
because your
went down.
sound went out briefly. You said that he did get out of Wilmington and then he resettled. We missed that little part right before you said he resettled.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. He resettled. Left Wilmington, went to
Okay.
New York, was there
Oh,
for a while.
okay.
And so it didn't work out for him in New York. They tried to start another newspaper. You know how it is.
Yeah.
When you're black, we don't have the wealth like that. So
Right.
if it messes up first time, we can't get back
We
probably.
can't recover. Right.
Yeah.
Financially.
So his brother actually just left and started teaching at Tuskegee Institute
Oh,
down
okay.
with Booker T. Washington. And then
Yeah.
Alex Manley went to Philadelphia and just did commercial painting the rest of his life. But he experienced racism there because, they had the white only unions
Yes.
in the North, that a lot of people don't talk
Gotcha.
about. And
Yeah.
so what he had to do was pretty much pretend to be a white guy so he can get a good job.
Oh, so he had to pass once he went north, huh?
Because that's the only way he could
Because
sustain
he
his
couldn't
family.
survive
Yeah,
otherwise.
yeah.
So when we talk about sustainability, that's even a method that our people have
A lot
used.
of our people had to do that. A lot of our
Yeah.
people had to do that back in the day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's kind of really a twist to that story because here it is a man that takes pride in being black
Right,
ends up having to live
right,
as a white man
right,
just so he can live.
right,
Isn't that something? The
right,
irony of
right,
and then when we talk about being in this present moment, that speaks volumes on a number of levels. When you talked about the economic aspect of it, that being up there, he couldn't go into business again with the newspaper. He didn't
right,
have that kind of startup capital, especially going north. It's much
right,
more expensive.
right,
And him being black and not from there, he don't have the connections. So he doesn't have the investors even to probably come in and back him. So he
right,
goes to art, which people feel is like, oh, that's a starving game, to go into art. But here, your film kind of meets both points between business and art because you did this as an independent filmmaker.
right.
And so you had to finance it. And I know right now you're trying to finance your next film through
Right.
something called Seed and Spark. How
Right.
are you doing that? Because I know you have artistic elements. You have the soundtrack with a lot of natives of North Carolina contributing
Right.
to that. You had a lot of artists that did posters, but there's
Right.
also a literal artwork
Right.
between the kind of what I call talking headshots
Right.
in the documentary, which makes it unique. And
Right.
so what made you infuse those things? But then how could you pay for that?
Well,
How do you
well,
do that? How are you gonna pay for the next one?
Well, what made me want to do those things the first time, because, I have an art background, I have a background in graphics. So,
Yeah.
and also, I'm a young guy as well. I love music, and I've always loved soundtracks to films.
Me
I've
too.
always been a fan. I still listen to them,
And I buy them.
soundtracks.
I
Yeah,
listen
same
and I
here.
buy them. Yeah.
Same here. I just love it. So I was like, I want to incorporate that in my films to always have a solid soundtrack, solid artwork, and have different components
Yeah.
that we can do things with. And so what I did was, like I said, I pretty much paid for a lot of stuff out of my own pocket at the beginning. My savings and little unemployment I was getting at the time. And we just made it work, and then I did a small crowdfunding campaign for a few $1,000s to get some other interviews and stuff shot, get some stuff going. And then, like I said, out the blue, we were blessed to be able to partner with David West. He's a retired NBA player.
Yeah.
And he came in at the end and wanted to get involved to help me finish, post-production.
Right.
And so, you know, the
That was
rest is
a big
history.
deal. I remember that was a big deal.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I remember that night where I'm looking at the countdown like it's my movie. I'm like, oh man, come on, come on. Oh man, because you had it on Indiegogo,
Yeah,
was
it's
it?
Indiegogo at time. I think
Yeah,
it was like $3,000. Yeah,
yeah. And if you didn't get the entire amount, then
right.
they were going to reverse all the
Yeah, you don't get
pledges.
nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I was there sweating. I donated twice. I was like, come on, y'all, come on. I mean, I remember us really getting it out there.
yeah.
So
Thank
but
you. I
when he
appreciate
came
that.
through, I mean, I was screaming, I was cheering. He would have thought I was at one of his games. You understand? Because
Yeah,
I didn't know who did it. But when you were like, we got it. When we got that email that we got it, I was so happy. You don't have no idea. I can only imagine how you felt.
yeah. It was great. And like I said, you know, even, you know, doing documentaries are tough, especially historical ones,
Yeah.
because the editing, you know,
Oh,
was laboring, and it was laboring
yeah.
because, you know, just trying to mix and match stuff and,
Yes.
you know, making, you know, and it was tough. That's why it took a few years just for the editing process,
I believe you because
you
I
know.
just finished my 2 documentary series, and
Yeah.
believe me, I
But I
know
know,
the amount
but
of
this
money.
next go around, you know, it's a little bit different. And, you know,
Yeah,
I showed you some snippets of it. You know, we stepped our production game even more. So, you
beautiful,
know, it looks more cinematic, more polished.
nice.
You know, I've stepped my game up. I've learned a lot over the years as a filmmaker and getting better. You know, it's going to be less talking head heavy,
Okay,
you know, so it's going to be more cinema
cinema
verite.
type. Okay,
Yeah, so it's gonna be
beautiful.
more cinema in style. You know, we're gonna have some talking here, but not as much
Not as much.
with this. And
Beautiful.
so, you know, I wanted to really focus on Wilmington today and
Yeah,
certain individuals, especially the young folks, people that's my age, like in their 30s, they're doing some amazing things and getting stuff done
great.
in Wilmington. Yeah, and a lot of people just they need to know about that.
They
And,
do because I need to know about that because
yeah,
so many times when I go to Wilmington, I look for us. You know, folks act like they hiding, like we still got a
I
ways
got to
to
connect
walk.
you. I got to connect you with these young
Yeah.
folks that I'm dealing with. You know,
Yeah, I
definitely.
definitely want to see them and tell us how can my audience connect to you and connect to this new project. I mean, what is going on? I know
Yeah.
Seek and Spark. I've seen some stuff on Instagram. You keep on giving us that little teaser, that little
Right.
teaser, that little
Yeah.
teaser that you're about to launch that.
Right,
I
right.
mean, how is that going to go and how can people support?
Oh, well, you know, people can go to seedandspark.com next Monday, July 27th. July
Excellent. The
27th, we
beginning of
launching.
Elevation Nation Appreciation Week.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we launching 9 a.m. Next Monday, 9 a.m. next Monday, seedandspark.com. You can also go to wilmingtononfire.com as well, and they'll take you right to the page too. And we're launching, you know, so we're going to have some cool rewards, you know, for different levels, whether you can give 10, 25, or whatever. Every little bit helps. You know what I'm saying? And so every week we're going to be dropping something new. You know, we got the pitch video that we dropping the first week with some cool stuff. The following week, we're going to show a little clip from Wilmington on Fire 2. The next week, we'll show the cool poster that my designer is doing right now. And then also the last week is when we'll be unveiling the first teaser trailer.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. And so they can go to wilmingtononfire.com
Yeah.
and they can go to seedandspark.com, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so all of those places will be where folks can send in funds, they can donate, they can support the entire
Share
project.
it. Yeah, share it. You know, if you can't donate, it's cool. Just share it on through your networks. You know, send out an
Right,
email, put it on your Facebook. Every little bit helps, whether you can give some money or not.
absolutely. And Wilmington on Fire is on Facebook too, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Wilmington on Fire on Facebook. Also, it's on Twitter at Wilmington 1898 and on Instagram Wilmington on Fire. And also, if people haven't seen the first one yet, you can stream it now. It's on Vimeo on demand. It's on Amazon Prime and it's on Quelle TV. And you can go to WilmingtonOnFire.com to get all that information.
Excellent, excellent. So definitely, I encourage you, especially at this time, and especially like we talk about the young people who are involved, folks that are in their 30s and even younger than that, are out here taking it to the streets, speaking truth to power, will know about what happened prior to now. Because you can learn a lot. Like we say, if honey ain't know where honey did from, honey ain't going to know where honey to go. So you might think you know everything there is in the world, but you don't. The more we read, the more we study, the more we should get understanding. And like scriptures tell us, wisdom is the principal thing. So get wisdom, but in all thy getting, get understanding. So we have to understand the modus operandi behind a lot of the disenfranchisement that has happened to Black people, so that we can understand the importance of re-enfranchising our communities. As Chris said, supporting Black businesses, but also supporting the arts and supporting this kind of hybrid of the two, where we're talking about a Black-owned film company, an indie film artist that is creating something that is to appeal to our minds and our
also, and I want to add to that, you know, a lot of times, you know, people say, you know, you know, he's making all this money, you know, but the thing, but see, this is the thing, and see, this is the thing, Queen Quet, is that, you know, I tell people that, you know, the money that we do make from the film projects, we're able to help other filmmakers. You know, like, for example, you know, people just know me from Wilmington on Fire, but they don't realize I've produced other projects, like on Ricky Kelly's film, Black Beach, White Beach. You know, people should definitely check that out. It's on Amazon. Check it out. You know, that's about the 2 bike weeks that go on in Myrtle Beach. You know, the Harley one and the Black one, and it goes into depth.
Atlantic Beach here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, the controversy between the two.
Right. So, you know, I was executive producer of that. Helped them with that. Also, we got a new joint right now called The Black Baptism. It's a narrative sci-fi short film by this one sister in Durham. Yeah, it's been, we've been in some festivals. We just got accepted into the Hip Hop Film Festival in New York last week. So, you know, we doing the festival circuit with that. We co-financed and produced that. Also, you know, I talked to you about this earlier, you know, I'm producing Harlem's Last Poet. And that's about Abiodun Oyewole, co-founder of The Last Poet.
My good friends, very cool.
Yeah, so those are the things that we do with Speller Street Films, because I can't make every film, you know, but there are powerful stories out there, and there are great filmmakers out there that need help, you know, whether it's monetary or, you know, just someone for guidance and mentorship. And that's what we try to do. And also, I co-founded a Black filmmaker group here in Durham, North Carolina, where we just got finished with like a 3-month long session every week. We gave free film workshops, master classes, where we had people from the industry, you know, cinematographers, people that work in Hollywood, that write, producers, composers, everything, you know what I'm saying? And so we had everybody, Black filmmakers in this group, get to learn and ask questions all for free. You know what I'm saying? So those are the things that we do, you know, so that's where the money goes, is to do these type of programs, help other filmmakers, other Black filmmakers as well. So when you support Wilmington on Fire, that's where your money goes.
And see, that's the difference. That's what you call leadership.
Right.
That is leadership, because leaders create more leaders, not more followers.
Exactly.
So it's not just about clicking like, or, you know, getting followers on Instagram. So, I got this many followers. It's about conversions and converting folks into leadership positions in the Black community and getting you to really take a stand. And so this film has been vital, because I know I've referenced it. I've referenced it at the United Nations. I've referenced it in documents I write, in blogs, other things, many times over the years, because it speaks volumes to even the case that I know Brother Larry Nate Thomas has been fighting for, about reparations. And I know a lot of my listeners have heard me touching on it. And some of our guests have mentioned it in this discussion that we're in now about equity and equality and Black empowerment and Black business support, like what you outlined, and how when we have money, we can hire others in our community. We can also provide educational spaces for others in our community, like what you've done. So what would you say would be the reason then, if you think so, that folks should get reparations? Should anybody get reparations, and especially the people from Alex Manley's family and the others?
I think, and we're going to talk about it in chapter 2 as well, somewhat, because you know, we got Larry coming back. We're going to have probably Professor Darity as well. You know, he has a new book out, great book about reparations. It came out in April, and you know, he was in the first one as well. So, you know, we're going to deal with the whole reparations thing, because, you know, it's people are talking about it. You know, Asheville just did something, even though it's not, you know, what we want. But the thing is they took a step. They're taking a step, but it's up to other places to take it even further. And so, but we have to apply pressure. And I know there's been talks in other cities of trying to do something even greater than what Asheville has done. You know, so there are people working to try to get some things done. Hopefully it can come from the federal level as well for that type of
Absolutely.
support. But yeah, we black folks, we deserve reparations ever since we got out of slavery. You know,
I hear
so this is over hundreds of years,
I
you
hear
know, that
that.
we've
All kinds of
supposed to.
oppression that we haven't documented yet.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, we definitely need it, and we're old, and people keep saying, "Ah, it's going to bankrupt the country." No, it's not.
No, it wouldn't.
So,
No, it wouldn't.
and then also, this is another thing too that gets me when you talk about reparations, and even our own people fall subject to it, is that, well, you know, if you give us reparations, all we're going to do is blow it, and that's complete BS because first of all, that's just human nature. You know, it has nothing to do with color. You're going to have a percentage of people that's going to do dumb stuff with their money, regardless of color, white, Asian, Hispanic, whoever. And then also, I was looking at this one thing where they were talking about, they did a study, this reparations group did a study because they wanted to debunk that myth. They did a study on black folks who actually won the lottery and just to see what their spending patterns were. So, you know, how a lot of people think, they blew it, but they found that the majority of black people that won large sums of money actually did some great things. They set up trust funds for their kids. They paid for their kids' college. They had money stacked up so when their kids bought a home, they invested in property. So it shows you right there, when we get some financing its own, you know, we're going to do the right thing. I know what I'm going to do with it. You know, I'm growing Speller Street and doing a whole bunch of stuff.
No, that's right.
You know what I'm saying? And same with you. You know, that's what I'm, because so the thing is, this notion that black people are going to blow it. No, we're not.
You're saying that's a myth.
You
know, it's interesting because you being in North Carolina and you and I talking just a little while ago about Black Beach, White Beach, and the difference between where Myrtle Beach is and Atlantic Beach. Atlantic Beach is what we call the Black Pearl here in the Gullah Geechee Nation, and that's a township. And many of you have written about that in a book about our Black township. So you can find that at gullahgeechee.biz. But there's a sister who's from just north of there, who was from Little River, South Carolina. But I understand she bought, like you said, property and a house across the North Carolina border. And she's one of those folks that hit the lottery twice.
You see what I'm saying?
$21 million, this sister. Now, in her case she did do some foolishness because she bailed her brother out of prison a couple times.
You know, like I said, you know, we're going to do some, you know, some splurging. But she did
have a mansion. She had a mansion. And one good thing was that she ended up on Sister Ayanla's show, Fix My Life, and I pray she fixed her life. Because she had her children and her mom was there, and they were just concerned that she wouldn't run out of money, that she would have the money to maintain. She literally bought a plantation. She really did. To maintain the ownership of that, maintain the house itself, maintain her personal health and everything, and get her children educated. So that they could be good stewards in the future of the money. And so, like you said, we start off from humble beginnings. So if you didn't have, I mean, of course, you don't know about investments, owning property if you grew up, you know, renting or anything, but somebody can teach you if you're willing to learn. So that's why I think
majority of our people are willing to learn. We just never had the access to the money.
That's
it.
That's it. We had access to the money, and we often have the access to the help we need when we get the money. We just say, okay, I got the money, and then first, you know, we're gonna have a party. I ain't gonna lie, because I'm gonna have a party. I'm gonna have
exactly. It's not wrong with that. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing, Queen Quet, because I want to do a study. I want to do a study on what did folks do, like, you know, in certain communities that got reparations over the years. I bet you, if we did a study on them, I bet you a lot of them people have blown their money over the years.
Okay, exactly. And it's not like it's relegated to black folks blowing money. People blow money, period. Like you said.
That's just human nature. That's just human nature.
It's a personality thing. You know,
especially here in the United States, you know, we're just frivolous and everything. That's just a society thing. You know, it has nothing to do with us. But when it's talking about reparations, they want to make it seem like it's just black people that's mismanagement of money. You know, so. But
you know what? This is the part, and this is where I have to always step in on this issue of reparations, because you know I go to UN, and this is something that's always in the whispers, in the background, on the side, and all that kind of stuff. And so people need to understand reparations is not just money. The money part is the restitution part. The money part is the reparation part. Like, say, for instance, we said we want an Alex Manley Institute in North Carolina put back on the property where they burned the place down. That would repair that situation.
Right.
Then we would have to have the restitution paid to the family for all the wealth that was lost over all the generations that that business had not been able to operate, given what had happened, which was no
Right.
fault of his own. Okay, so then where most people stop short, like you mentioned, the federal government, has been the apology.
Right.
Apology is first. Well, the
Right.
Senate did that a long time ago. They
Right.
did it years ago. But
Right.
you don't stop at apology. You have to then start into the point of engagement where you have the restitution, the
Right.
restoration, okay, putting things back, and the reparation is repairing it. So that repair is not just economic, it's psychological, it's physical. And when we're talking about this current time with the COVID epidemic and the pre-existing conditions, a lot of the pre-existing conditions Black people have are brought on by stress. We try to eat our way out of stress.
Yeah. I'm a prime example. Remember, I told you about the health problems I had, last year and earlier this year. It was stress. It was stress, and a lot of it boils down to money.
Absolutely. And it goes right back around.
Yeah.
It goes right back around. And so when we talk about coming 360, there it is. And so why has this been the case? Why is this an issue? Why is there an argument? Because you have 400 to 500 years of people of African descent being in North America. You got almost 500 years of the first Africans being brought to where I am, Santa Elena. You have from 1670, if we want to mark it, Charleston is celebrating their 350 this year. So 350 years of people exploiting you, taking your intellect, taking then the finances gained by your intellect and your blood, sweat, and tears. You have sweat equity invested. You have spiritual equity invested. Our ancestors did, our elders did, and they literally didn't get paid for it. So they have a right to have an argument for a debt that needs to be paid. And that's what Dr. King got murdered for. He got assassinated because he started putting a money talk behind it.
And see, the thing is, and this I always frame it as well, that giving Black people reparations, it actually is going to make our economy stronger.
It would.
It's going to make our country whole, because that's why our country's never really been whole. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have subjugated this one group and kept them out of the economic system, your system can't really truly be strong. That's why when we have these downturns in the economy, that's why everything goes crazy. It
goes down fast.
You know what I'm saying? So if you make us strong, we're going to hire more people. We're going to be contributing more, spending more in the economy, hiring more people, and they'll be spending more. We'll be buying more property and doing investing and building more banks and putting more money in our banks. It just makes the whole country better. And Wilmington was a prime example of that in 1897. And so that's what I'm saying. Like, this whole thing of white supremacy, it doesn't help anybody at the end of the day.
But tell me this, you brought up some key things right there. When you say that Wilmington was a prime example of this in 1898, we know that 1898 is a period called Reconstruction.
Right.
So why would you say that Wilmington was such a great example at that time for Black people in terms of economic empowerment? And then why did this system of white supremacy, come against that? What does Black economic empowerment do to white supremacists?
Oh, well, it's a threat. You know what I'm saying? It's a threat to the system, because you don't really need them. And also you're competing. The whole thing of white supremacy is to have an advantage, an unfair advantage over everyone else. It pretty much eliminates competition, because even some of the biggest white business owners from previous years back in the day always talked about, said competition was a sin. What I'm saying? Yeah. So it's like it's all about having the unfair advantage over everyone else. And so when our people coming out of slavery, not really having nothing, and some of us might have had a little something based off our circumstance, but we accomplished some amazing things. One, we still pretty much hold the record of being like the fastest educated people really on earth. Coming out of slavery, how we just reversed our whole illiteracy rate by the percentage. No one's ever seen that before, ever, on earth. And we did that coming out of slavery. And then also building up different Black Wall Streets throughout the country and doing our own thing, building our schools, maintaining them, and doing what we had to do. And so when we did that, even though we didn't have And we still needed reparations then, even though we did all those things, because we still were really behind economically because we were, enslaved for all those years. And
Absolutely.
so when what people in Wilmington are doing their thing and rising up, but also what made Wilmington interesting was this whole fusion movement of Black folks and white progressive working together in this thing called fusion politics and fusion movement. And so
Right.
that was really a threat to the white supremacy movement, because the white supremacy movement wanted those white folks back into the white
Their
supremacy
system.
society. You know
Exactly.
what
Because
I'm
it
saying?
keeps
So
their system stronger. But it's
exactly. And so
diluted
that's what the
theirs
whole,
by
yeah,
them leaving. I
right.
see.
And so that was the whole reason why they did the massacre, was to break that up and
Uh-huh.
to really have white supremacy not only through Wilmington but throughout North Carolina. And you never really had a fusion movement since. But now with Wilmington on Fire 2 and Wilmington Today, you're starting to see that fusion movement rise up with the younger folks there. And that's why we had to do part 2. We had to do it.
Excellent. That is wonderful. So definitely y'all make sure y'all get out there, follow WilmingtonOnFire.com, follow Wilmington 1898 on Twitter,
Yep.
follow Wilmington on Fire or Wilmington 1898
Oh, Wilmington 1898 on Twitter. On
on Twitter,
Twitter.
right? On Twitter.
Wilmington on Fire is
On
on Instagram and Facebook.
Excellent. So definitely y'all can see clips already. Even if you go to YouTube, you can see several clips from Wilmington on Fire. But why watch the clips? Why watch the clips, y'all?
Yeah.
The whole movie, the original, the first part is out already.
Amazon Prime. Everybody got Amazon. Everybody been bugging me for years. Saying, when you gonna put it on Amazon or Netflix? It's up there. Check it out.
Check it out. Check it out. And I would encourage you do that. If you say, well, I can't do it now, I'm at work or whatever, I just watch this show and then get off. That's no problem. But
Right.
after you finish watching the show, if you're watching this on Gullah Geechee TV, soon as you finish, I need you go on switch platforms and go on over there and watch this Vimeo stream. Make sure to see it. And as Brother Christopher said, do what we're doing. Have a dialogue, have a discussion about it. You can do your own Zoom meeting and talk about it, or just get in a group. Have your group of folks on a FaceTime or something, but have a talk about this and about not only the past and, oh, I like the movie or I like the soundtrack, but what has informed your present.
Right.
And
I know it was one sister, this one sister did that, it was a couple of people actually. It was one sister in Virginia and another sister in Georgia. They reached out to me, it was like last year, and they was like, Chris, we started a discussion group. I saw your film and said, I need to do something in my community. And so they saw the film, and then so they did like a thing, like I said, right in their own neighborhood with their neighbors. And so they watched the film, they all had a discussion on it and said, what can we do to make our block better? You know what I'm saying? And so they got these little study groups for the kids. They look out for each other. They watch they watch out for each other. They also start like a little investment group where all the neighbors put in some money so they can buy some property somewhere. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I never thought that the film would really inspire people. Even also, it's inspired, some of the white folks in Wilmington. Like one guy, he's a wealthy gentleman. He owns, several businesses. But he hit me up. He came to a few of my screenings years ago. He said, Chris, your film really inspired me to do something. And so he's really doing it. He's going to be one of the guys that we're going to be filming in part 2. And he really is putting his money where his mouth is and really doing some things. So doing some great things. And that's what the film has really done. So like Queen Quest said, check out the film and use that film as a tool to really organize and strategize.
Yes, and put your money where your mouths are too.
Right.
Next Monday, now, come on. We're going to be starting off Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week on Saturday, July the 25th at noon, from noon to 2. We have a telethon for the Gullah Geechee Nation. We're going to be raising money on Saturday. And then Monday, I want y'all to keep a little change. You ain't got to dump the whole pocketbook on Saturday, because come Monday morning, 9 a.m., seedandspark.com, WilmingtonOnFire.com. I want all of us to be geared up to start off Chris's day so he can have a big old smile on his face with a lot of money pouring in to put seeds in the ground. I know many of you know we've talked on this show about agriculture. We've talked about land. We talk about being able to feed ourselves. Well, the way we do that is we got to have a seed, right? And then if you got raw meat, my mama said, "Honey, have a fire in the fire." So to get a fire going, you need a spark. So Seed and Spark All right. On Monday, you're going to be looking for Wilmington on Fire 2. This is chapter 2. This is what we're going to do. We're going to contribute. We're going to make sure that this project is fully funded so that this one can come out quick. All right.
Yeah, the plan is now, because we're going to be filming. This is the timeline, just for everybody know.
Yeah.
We're filming now, and then we're going to be filming till March of next year.
2021.
Yeah. So the plan is to premiere it November 2021. Because, November is I want to do it that week of the anniversary of the massacre. So hopefully COVID is died down where we can actually
die out. We need Rona to go on back where she come from.
Exactly. So if it's died out, we're definitely gonna do something big in Wilmington, and we'll definitely talk more about that. But if not, we'll do something virtual, for everyone as well. So the thing is, regardless, November 2021 is when it's going to
the date that we plan to have this drop. So the way we can ensure that he can get to that date, that deadline, is for us to all contribute and make sure to be part of the Black economic empowerment and enfranchisement so that we can continue to educate and re-enfranchise our community. Nobody's going to do this for us like we can do for ourselves. So we appreciate everybody who is trying to support Black and Indigenous people of color who are out here telling their own stories. We appreciate everybody around the world who says, I want to help you do that, who literally puts your money where your mouths are, that says you want to decolonize archives, you want to decolonize books, you want to decolonize films, you want to decolonize the world and break down and dismantle racism, because it's usually the systemic racism that prevents the filmmakers from getting the funding when they want to do a controversial topic like this. So you heard Christopher say Hollywood folks wanted to do this movie and didn't do it, but thank God you did. We're so glad that that fire hit you, sparked you, got you going. That was the one that could roast that seed, but you had something to eat and keep on moving. I know, you came here to see Elna. We had a good time. People have watched the show after that and was like, oh my God, y'all should have been there for the screening. It was so good. And they were so glad when it came out. And they can find it on streaming services. And I got my DVD. I ain't mad. I got my DVD. I got my t-shirt. I got my little thing from the night of the screen. I got all my stuff. And in the archive, I'm so proud you don't know. And so definitely, and my documentary's coming out.
Can't wait.
Yeah, I'm going to be hitting you up because we are going to be following your lead, in terms of this. And we're going to be talking some more on partnering and hopefully.
Also, even with after Wilmington on Fire Chapter 2, I mentioned this to you because I want to do some spinoff projects.
Yes, you did.
I want to do something about Whitesboro, New Jersey. Also, I want to focus on, the Gullah Geechee presence in Wilmington as well. So I definitely want to talk to you more about that. I want to do some spinoff projects as well.
But I want you to clarify. See, now you and I can talk all day, but I know what you're talking about when you said Whitesboro. I know some people just went, did he just say Whitesboro?
I can talk about it a little bit. It's in development.
Whitesboro all about? Why you mentioned Whitesboro? What's the deal with
that? Well, that's going to be, Wilmington on Fire Chapter 2 is really going to close, my chapter of the 1898 massacre for the film. But, we have several developments of spinoff projects. So Whitesboro, New Jersey is an interesting place because Whitesboro, New Jersey was started by George Henry White. He was like the last Black congressman in North Carolina during that time. And, after the massacre happened, that really pretty much stripped, Black folks from voting. And so he didn't get reelected in that last election he was in. And so what he decided to do was to urge folks, not only in Wilmington, but throughout North Carolina, to move to Cape May County, New Jersey. He bought some land. Booker T. Washington, the other folks gave him the money to get it. And so, he incorporated and named the town after himself. And the town is still up there today. It's a small town. It reminds you of Wilmington. It's right on the coast and everything. And so a lot of those folks, they know the history of why their ancestors moved from Wilmington. So we have a few people that they still come to Wilmington during the summer and stuff and visit family. And they all know, a lot of them knew more about the 1898 massacre over the years than even people in Wilmington. So that's it's going to be a cool story. Like I said, it still ties into 1898.
It does.
It has to have its own thing. So so that's a spinoff project that we got in the works right now. And also, we're going to talk more about
Yeah,
doing
the Gullah
something about the
Geechee
Gullah Geechee presence.
specifically. Yeah, because a lot of
Yeah.
people wanted to choke you out because they saw me in the film and say, hey, that's all she gonna say. I want to hear some more. You know, so
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's hard with
that's a
editing, you
lot.
know.
You can't put so
But
much in there.
yeah,
Yeah.
but like I said, these spin-off projects, you know, I got
Will
like 3, and that's one that I want to do.
do.
And
Excellent.
you're definitely going to be all in that.
I
You
know
know
I
what
ain't
I'm
gonna get
saying?
rid of you no time soon, and I
Right,
don't
right.
want to either. And definitely, you know, with the Whitesboro part, I wanted to just say this as well because you mentioned it in New Jersey. It's right near Cape May. Well, you know, a lot of Robert Small's family is up there in Cape May.
Really?
So when we
Wow.
talk about yeah, I know them
Yeah.
personally, and you
Yeah.
know, and so it's very interesting how those leaders during that Reconstruction
Right.
era, even when they moved together.
Right.
So that
Because
network,
you know what I'm saying?
yeah,
That's and see, and that's where we gotta go back to that.
that's
So
what I was gonna
yeah,
say. You
yeah,
said it. You said where I was going.
yeah.
That our networks today might seem digital and electronic, but they're still real. And
Right.
we have to hold on to that, and we have to hold on to one another. And so I'm so glad that God had it, that you and I connected. And
Right.
I'm so proud of you. I don't know what to do. You
Thank
know,
you. Thank
whenever
you.
I see what you're doing, whenever you win, this a win for all of we right here and thing like that.
Right.
And so it is such an honor to know you. And definitely you and I, we got some stuff coming up because I'm going to actually be sending you that little clip out of my first part of one of my
Yeah,
documentaries.
send it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do an airing coming up, and that's going to
Cool.
be a surprise. We're going to announce Saturday. We're going to do a little screening online too, but we're
Cool.
going to be working with you and Speller, so we really do it big. And
Yeah.
so we just have all this series coming out because I loved it that when you and I first met, I told you, I said, I love this, what you're doing, because I'm working on some documentaries too. And you said, bring
Right.
it all,
Yeah.
bring it all on,
Yeah.
you know? And he was like, we got to do this. And we do. And I'm glad we're still at this. And I'm releasing this year, then you releasing again next year.
Yeah.
And then we just have our whole film festivals that'll just keep all of these stories
Yeah.
telling folks who we be down here and documenting Black history, and in particular, the history of our legacy on this coastline. So
Right.
thank you so much, Christopher. Are there any last words that you might want to say to the audience out there right now, just in general?
Oh, and I just want to just thank, you know, everyone for the support. Thank you all for your support as well. Queen Quet, over the years, like I said, you're like a big sister to me, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, you know, I just thank you again for the support, and everyone else in the Gullah Geechee Nation. You know, I really appreciate it. You know, we launched the campaign Monday, Wilmington on Fire, Chapter 2. The next chapter to the 1898 story is we got to talk about the present day and what we got to do to change this system of white supremacy and this lasting legacy of the 1898 massacre on this town, but not only the town, but just America as a whole, because that massacre changed the course of American history forever. So we have to go back to the root of the problem, and that's in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Right, San Kofa, go back and fetch it. So definitely, if Honey ain't know where Honey the day from, Honey ain't going to know where Honey the gwine. So we know, even though we're getting ready to go off the air for this program, we are not going away from one another. We want y'all to continue to support Wilmington on Fire, Wilmington on Fire 2. Definitely be prepared. Follow us at Gullah Geechee on Twitter, at Gullah Geechee on Instagram. Follow Gullah Geechee Nation on Facebook and GullahGeecheeNation.com. You are going to see us reposting all the things that Chris posts about the fundraisers coming up, about the viewings coming up. We're going to be reposting, retweeting. He sent it out, we sent it out. So we are still a network that has to protect one another, but also empower one another. And definitely, I appreciate all of you for supporting us, and make sure that you tune in to Taking a Stand for Gullah Geechee Land. Hashtag Gullah Geechee 2020 Telethon. It's going to be showing on a Growing Cultures YouTube page on Saturday, July 25th at noon. It's going to be a live telethon from noon to 2. It will also stream over onto the Gullah Geechee Nation Facebook fan page and Gullah Geechee TV's Facebook fan page. And you can also donate at $ Gullah Geechee Nation, GullahGeecheenation on Cash App, or go to GoFundMe and look for the Gullah Geechee Land and Legacy Fund. When we're talking about re-enfranchising our people, we have to make sure that we take a stand for the land so that we can have land in the future. And as long as we take care of the land will take care of us. But we have to now take a stand for the land. And that's why it's so important that we document who we be down here and things like that we know our living legacy but what happened before us that caused us to be able to live out a legacy. We're only building on the foundation that our ancestors already laid down, and we have to respect that. And because of these types of films like Wilmington on Fire, we're able to see just a little bit into that and then be able to build going forward. So let's build together. So I want to say thank you to all the 100 children who dare in the room with me now, and read us to my Gullah Geechee TV viewing audience and things like that. We thank you for joining. This is Queen Quet, head upon the body of the Gullah Geechee Nation. So glad 100 children taught them not robbery, but zoom in on documenting Black history with myself and Brother Christopher Everett. Peace and love, Brother Chris. I'm going to be looking out on Monday. I'm going to be ready to see this, and we definitely going to keep burning these pages of history into the hearts and the minds of our people. Peace and blessings, everybody. Keep knowing your story, keep telling your story, and keep standing. Fight on.